Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Norma and today I'm going to be talking about how I studied for my Hesi exam and how ultimately I got into nursing school with my scores. So I'm going to talk about that. I have my scores right here. I don't think it's going to focus. Oh yeah, it is. So on my reading comprehension, I got a 90. This is gonna be so funny. Like I got pretty much 90s across the board. Like not a 91, not a 90.5, 90s on everything. Like, okay, let me read it. So reading comprehension, I got a 90. Vocabulary and knowledge, I got a 90. Anatomy and physiology, I got an 88, but we'll get there. I will explain why anatomy was just like kind of annoying for me. In math, I got a 90. Surprise. What else? And then on my critical thinking, I got an 870. So pretty much in total, I got 90s in reading, math, vocabulary, 88 in A&P, and an 870 on critical thinking. So for my program, we had to get above 80s in all the sections. And from the get-go, I was the most worried about anatomy. Like, your girl bought so many books that I probably did not need to buy anyway. I bought this book. I bought the book that everybody kind of buys for Hesi. I'll try to like insert a picture or something so that you can know, because I forgot what it's called. I lent it to a friend, never got it back. But I used that book. And I also bought the Hesi study book, the ones that make the actual test, that make the study guide. I got that one, but I got it like online. Basically got all of that just for anatomy, because that was the one I was the most worried about. I took A&P 2 years ago. So anatomy was just really like fuzzy in my head. Like I knew the basics. I was just worried if they were going to be asking like a lot of physiology questions, because that's what I didn't quite remember that well. I got an 88, and that was the first one I opened, because when you take your Hesi, you can choose the order of the exams you're taking. So kind of like beforehand, think about which ones you want to take first. I knew from the get-go I wanted to take anatomy first, just so that I could get it over with and know like what my destiny was gonna be just with that. So I took anatomy first, and honestly guys, like when I was taking it, I was like, I'm not gonna pass this. I was like, I would be so lucky if I got the 80, because like I said, we had to get 80s in every section to even be considered for the RN program I applied to. So I took it. First question, I don't think I knew it for sure, and I started freaking out like right then and there. I was like hyperventilating, like the whole thing. But the thing that they don't really tell you that much is that I believe there's 5 questions, don't quote me on this, there's 5 questions in there that are like not counting against you. They're just to kind of I think they're like for research purposes, honestly. So I feel like those were the 5 that like I got at the beginning, and I was just like, I don't know this, like, but I pretty much gave my best guess. I gave my best guess on the ones that I wasn't sure about, and then of course there were really straightforward questions like the planes. There was like a question about anatomical position. What way are your palms facing for anatomical position? I had a question about the parts of the ear, which are the incus, the malleus, and I forgot the other part. Sorry, I took the test like 2 months ago, so it's kind of foggy, but I know that other people got asked that ear question, so look that up because that question was on there. I got also a question about fingerprints. If anybody, I don't know, I got a question about fingerprints. And I can actually see like the topics that I missed, so I'm gonna check that really quick. Okay, so here you can see my score was an 88, my class average was a 68. Yeah, I guess that's why I got into the program. And it gives you like your little stats there. So So you see there's 25 questions that are counted, but you get 30. So just keep in mind 5 of those are not really going to count, but just try your best and give your best guess on everything. If you've taken anatomy classes before, you'll be fine. Trust me, I was so worried. I'm not like a straight A student, just to be clear. I'm more of like a straight B student with like a sprinkle of A's. I was worried. I was like, oh no, like they're gonna ask me questions that I don't remember. But truly, like, if you've taken anatomy classes, the topics that you get asked here are like topics that were enforced during your anatomy courses. So now I'm gonna go to the topics that I missed. And actually it tells me the number of questions. It won't tell me exactly the question, but I'm gonna tell you the topics so you guys can look up about these topics if you don't know already. So I missed question number 5 about cell membranes. Clearly, I don't know about cell membranes. Like, I'm pretty sure that's one of the ones that I guessed, and I guessed wrong. I missed question number 10 about DNA code. Like, trust me, these questions that I'm reading right now these topics are probably like the hardest that were on the exam. Everything else was just so straightforward, I promise. Number 15 was about fingerprints. One of the answer choices was like Merkel cells, something, if you guys remember about that. I think the question said something like, what tissue is our fingerprints made out of? Something like that. Don't quote me again. 16, fracture repair. I don't remember that question, but I guess I missed fracture repair, question 16. 17, oh my god, I missed 15, 16, 17, so I went in a row. 15 was about intramembranous ossification. Oh my god, how did I miss that? That's like about the baby skulls, right? Something like that. I'm telling you, I was so anxious when I was taking the test. I was like not in my right state of mind. Don't judge. 22, I remember this one, and I was debating, and like, y'all are gonna think I'm very dumb, but 22, popliteal artery. This question said, and this is the question that I could have gotten right and gotten a 90, so the question said, what artery is behind your knee? This is 2 you could eliminate right away, like hell no, those aren't it. But then I saw femoral artery, and I was like, bro, your femur's right there. Wouldn't it be But then I was like, popliteal artery, like that sounds very familiar and very important. And I literally was on that question for like 2 minutes just trying to dig that information up. But it was popliteal artery, and I would have gotten a 90 if I just clicked it, because I did click it. I was like, I think it's popliteal. Like some voice in my head was like, popliteal, but I didn't put it. So I got that question wrong, and I got an 88. And then 25 was about skin cancer. I don't remember that question, but if you don't know about skin cancer, look it up. I think some of the answer choices said something like vitamin D, like, don't quite remember the question, but it was about skin cancer. Basically what I did to study for anatomy was I bought this book. It's like Cliff Notes, but there's no way you're gonna be able to go through the whole book unless you scheduled your exam for like a few months away. I literally had 4 weeks to study my butt off. So I kind of just like went through the book, and I was like refreshing my mind, refreshing myself. For sure, something you really need to know is the flow of the heart, the blood in your heart. You need to know that. That's very important. You need to know the anatomical planes. You need to know, let me look through the book. Maybe I can remember. You need to know about your tissues, the type of tissues, but just like the very basic and common ones, like what's transitional tissue? That one was on there. I didn't really get any questions on the nervous system. And I did study like the peripheral nervous system. I studied that pretty well. I did get a question about the eye, about the rods and the cones. Look that up if you don't know what that is. I did get that question. I did get a question about the different white blood cells. I think know what they do, like the major function of all that stuff, like in your defense mechanism, because I did get questions like that. But believe me, the way that some of these questions are phrased, you're gonna get them, like you're gonna know right away. On the score for like, it gives you also like your explanation. I fall under the very good. Good job. You have very good knowledge of anatomy and physiology and are well prepared for your program. So there's that. Like I said, all I was basically studying was anatomy. Coincidentally was the lowest I got from all the subjects, but I expected that. Like if I didn't put as much time and effort into anatomy, I would have like totally bombed it. So do study anatomy, whatever you have to do, watch videos, just refresh yourself on the basics of the courses, because honestly you don't have to go too in depth. Just brush over everything, remind yourself if you have notes from your previous anatomy courses, read over them. That'll help a whole lot. And if you just are fresh out of anatomy, which I would recommend to take your Hesi at that point, because it's all fresh in your head. Like you honestly won't even have to study if you just took or are in the process of taking it too. I think, you know, that's gonna help a whole lot. But if you're like me and you took years to take your Hesi after you took anatomy, try to study as best as you can, because some of these things were foggy in my head. I really had to like dig deep in the back of my brain to find it. So yeah, math. So for math, I looked through the math study sections and I was just like, this is easy. Like sorry for those of you who struggle with math, but like this is just the math that you kind of learned in like elementary, middle school. Like it's just very basic math. However, what I did study and what I recommend you to study are the conversions. Like I literally studied them minutes before I walked into my test, just so that I can really stick those conversions in my head. Like I had been studying them, but I forgot them like on the day of the test, so I looked them up beforehand just to remind myself. But you need to know conversions. Like a very important one is your fluids. So if y'all learned about the gallon man, he is going to be the MVP of your Hesi math portion, because he was for me. I got so many questions to convert like gallons to whatever, like quarts to cups. Like I got so many questions. I want to say I got like 15 questions just on like fluid conversions. So learn the gallon man if you never learned about him. He's just like a big G, and then you have your Q's for quarts. You have 4 quarts, and then you have 2 P's in each quart, and then just keep going. I kind of forgot it, but he saved my life on that test. Shout out gallon man, you're the best. We'll have like a lot of fill in the blank questions, but don't even worry about those. They are super like straightforward, easy, like just wanting to know if you know how to add, subtract, whatever. And then one thing that I knew they were gonna be on the Hesi, but I didn't think there would be so many. So I got a whole bunch of ratio and proportion questions, a bunch, and I didn't even really study them. Like that's another type of thing that I had to like really dig back deep into my head to remember like how to do ratios and proportions. But like once I kind of got it, I was like, oh okay, I remember. But if you aren't familiar with those, look them up. I had pretty much like half the test was ratios and proportions for me. So that's for math. Reading, I didn't really study for reading, to be completely honest, but reading is very straightforward. If you've ever taken a standardized test, you know standardized tests. If you've ever taken a standardized test, you know how the cookie crumbles with reading. It's just reading a passage. What was this passage about? What was the main idea? what was the author trying to infer, like very straightforward basic questions. The only thing I will say is it's exhausting because I believe there were like 50 questions on reading. Again, don't quote me, but like it just gets exhausting. Like once you're towards the end of the test, you kind of just want to be done, and having to continue to read and process. I think that's why I got a 90. I honestly feel like I could have done way better on that one and math, but I just got tired and exhausted. Like towards the end, I just wanted to be done. I was just answering a little too quickly, but take your time. Try not to burn out. If you have to, take a little break, because they do give you restroom breaks or water breaks, whatever. Do that, because I was just like, my mind was burned. And after I took my anatomy test and I knew I got above the 80, I was like, I checked out doing the bare minimum. So don't be like Norma. The reading, you get questions that'll be like, what does this word mean in this sentence? Like, why, you know, questions like that. Very easy. The only reason I would suggest you to study it is if like if English isn't your first language, then definitely study, do practice passages, practice questions, because it'll help you a whole lot. And on the reading comprehension, oh, it actually breaks it down for you. So for reading comprehension on conclusions, I got 100. Your girl always jump into conclusions. Implications, a 92. Meaning, word use, 92. Understanding, 84. I guess I have trouble with understanding things. I don't know. So vocabulary, that was another one that I did study for, just by like reviewing Hesi vocabulary cards like on Quizlet. That helped a lot. But on vocabulary, I got questions that were like, how is this word spelled? Like, what is the correct spelling of a container that holds water? And then it'll say like bottle, like correctly spelled, and then there'll be like a misspelled bottle. You know, you get the point. But they were easy, they weren't hard, big, confusing words at all. And what else? A few of the questions, like the vocabulary questions that I studied from Quizlet, did come out, but not all of it, so don't completely feel confident in just studying through Quizlet. Study through different types of like Hesi websites or Hesi study guides. Look through all the vocabulary, because it, you know, you never know what they can ask you. There's a lot of words in the English language. So then in my critical thinking, I was actually kind of surprised. I really thought I was going to do better on that one. But I also didn't study for critical thinking. I'm giving horrible advice. I'm just saying, like, I didn't study for this, I didn't study for that. But truly, like, I studied the most for anatomy and the vocabulary, and then I just brushed up on conversions for math. Critical thinking, I went over like a Quizlet example of the critical thinking. I'll try to link that one below, but that is exactly how the Hesi critical thinking is. There's a Quizlet. If you go over those questions, you're gonna get the gist of like what the type of questions are. So they are like prioritization questions. They are very much so like, what would you do in this situation? Ethical questions. It's basically like, see if you are equipped to be a nursing student. So let me see if I have like a report over here of how I did. I think I do have a report. Yeah, okay. So like I said, I got an 870 overall on my critical thinking. And the analysis of data, I got an 818. Argument analysis, I got a 958. Your girl, I guess, knows how to argue. Prioritization of care, I got a 775. That sucks. I don't even think I've looked at this before. I want to say that is probably because I'm a CNA right now, so I'm in this environment already. Like, that's why I didn't study for this test that much, or I didn't study for the critical thinking that much, because I felt like it would come natural to me. But prioritization of care, I guess, is something I can definitely work on, because I'm the type that like I want to help everybody. Like everybody is just as important, you know, but you know, there really comes a time where you have to differentiate between like, okay, that patient's coding and that one just wants like a blanket. Maybe I should go to the coding patient. So that's just my little justification. I don't know if that's the real reason. Maybe I'm just making an excuse. Problem solving, I got an 863. Okay. And resolution biases / ethical, I got a 937. So I should have honestly, I should have gotten a better grade on that too. Like I know my ethics pretty well. I don't know how these graphs work. That's why I probably got an 818 on analysis of data, because I don't know what this means, girl. I just want to take care of you. Overall, I got an 89.5, but at my school it like rounded up to a 90. So anyways, I got into nursing school, so I don't know if this was too helpful. If it wasn't at all, probably wasn't, but I just wanted to share like my Hesi experience. If you have any questions about something I probably didn't. So yeah, if you want to see any more videos, just let me know, like it, you know the drill. And I want to do like a little nursing school supplies haul because I'm basic like that. Stay tuned for that, because that is going to come up as soon as I get my stethoscope, which I'm still waiting for because my boyfriend was supposed to order it for me and I haven't gotten it yet. Anyways, if you actually watched all of this, thank you, and I wish you so much luck on your Hesi. Again, comment, message me, whatever. I want to totally help because I've been there and I know what it's like to be like so stressed and so worried about this test, and like with good reason. This test really does determine if you get into nursing school or not, and if you get into nursing school or not determines if you are fulfilling your life dream. So it is a big deal, and I want to be able to help, and hopefully this video helped a little bit. Alright, anyways, bye.